The weight of the moment was overwhelming as Marlowe was taken away in the ambulance, still unconscious. Thatcher clutched the envelope in his hands, unsure of what to do with it. The contents of this paper could hold the answers he desperately needed, but his instincts screamed at him not to open it. Not yet. As the paramedics rushed Marlowe to the hospital, Thatcher's gaze fell to her hand, still gripping something tightly. A dog tag, worn and scratched with time. The name was unmistakable. Hollis Rare. Hollis, a name that had haunted him for years, buried deep in the past. And yet, somehow, Marlowe was tied to it. But how? How could she be connected to this? Marlowe stirred and slowly opened her eyes. They were distant, empty, until they locked with Thatcher's. She didn't speak, but there was something in her gaze, a silent question. It was as if she was waiting, watching him, as if she knew something that he didn't. "You knew him, didn't you?" Marlowe's voice was faint, but there was strength beneath it. An unexpected force that made Thatcher's heart race. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Thatcher paused, his mind scrambling. He knew exactly what she wanted to hear, but he wasn't ready to say it. Not yet. Her gaze didn't waver. "He wrote about you, said if anything happened to him, you would know what to do." Thatcher closed his eyes for a moment, fighting to steady his breath. No, not now. Not yet. Marlowe reached under her pillow and pulled out another envelope. This one was older, torn at the edges. "My mother kept this hidden, said it was too dangerous, that it should never see the light of day." Thatcher hesitated, knowing he couldn't delay any longer. He wasn't prepared for what was inside, but now there was no turning back. He had to know. With trembling hands, he opened the envelope. The handwriting was unmistakable. Hollis's scrawl, rushed, barely contained, like he had been running out of time. Thatcher could almost hear the urgency in the words. The first line hit him hard, making his pulse quicken. "If you're reading this, it means I failed to keep my promise." Those words pressed down on him, suffocating him with their weight. He'd tried to bury the past, but it was back now, alive and threatening. What was Hollis hiding? What had he been keeping from everyone? Thatcher read it again, and this time, the words seemed to burn into his brain. "If you're reading this..." It wasn't just a note. It was a cry for help, a desperate plea from someone who knew time was running out. And now, everything Thatcher feared was starting to surface. The letter continued, but Thatcher could hardly absorb the rest. He glanced at Marlowe, standing there, breathing heavy, her eyes locked on him. They were connected somehow. But how? What was the truth? The tension in the room was palpable. Thatcher felt the full weight of his responsibility pressing down on him. Marlowe was in danger, and he had no idea how to protect her. He knew someone was still after whatever Hollis had hidden. And Marlowe, she held the key to it all. But something darker was on the horizon. His phone rang. The unknown number made his stomach drop. He answered quickly, already dreading what would come next. A distorted voice, cold and menacing, came through the line, cutting through the silence. "She's safer with us than with you. Stay out of this, or you'll fail her just like you failed him." The line went dead. Thatcher stood frozen, the weight of those words sinking in. He knew the truth was closer than he had imagined. His body tensed with urgency as the hunt began. Marlowe was at the center of it all. But how far was he willing to go to protect her? He had failed once before. He wouldn't fail again. He rushed to the clinic. The door was open, but something felt wrong. The room was empty. Marlowe was gone. Bishop, the dog, was restless. His nostrils flared as he sniffed the air like a predator on the hunt. Thatcher sprinted to the window, scanning the area, but there was no sign of her. Then, suddenly, he heard it. A sharp knock at the door, 3 quick raps, loud, urgent, a warning. Thatcher's hand hovered over the doorknob, but he hesitated. He opened it slowly, cautiously. There, pinned to the door, was a photo of Marlowe, pregnant, distressed, eyes wide with fear. And on the back, written in bold, hurried letters, "You're not the only one who got the letter." The chill ran down Thatcher's spine. This was worse than he thought. This game was darker than he could ever have imagined. The mission had shifted. It was no longer about uncovering the truth. It was about saving Marlowe before it was too late. As he raced through the shadows of Hollis's past, one thing became painfully clear. Someone was waiting, and they wouldn't stop until they had what they wanted. Don't miss the next twists in this story. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned.